Thanks, everybody. How you guys doing? Awesome. So the worst part about genital warts... Yeah, that's how you start a show. The worst part about genital warts, other than actually getting genital warts, might be the words genital warts. Because when you talk about it or you have to tell somebody that you have it, you have to say the words genital warts. And the alternative is not much better. It's venereal warts. I kind of wish I had gotten the clap, because the clap just sounds better. It's like manly, you know what I mean? But I wasn't that lucky. So I'm lying on the dermatologist's table. I have my pants around my knees, and he's examining me, and he says, yeah, it looks like you have a few warts. And I just sort of mentally break down. I put my hands over my face, and I just say, oh God, no. Because I had just slept with someone 2 days before. I met Diana on OkCupid, and we had gone on a few dates, and they were great, and I really liked her. New Year's Eve rolled around, and I did something that I had never done before, something that men have been doing since the dawn of the mobile phone. I texted her at 2 a.m. saying, hey, what's up? And we went back to my place, we spent the night together, and then she left early the next morning. And it was a really nice time, but my hypochondriac brain would not let me just think I had a nice night. I was like, I hadn't been sexually active in almost a year, but I had had a scare with someone before, and I was like, you know what? Just make sure. Just go get checked out, just as a precaution. It'll be fine. Just go get checked out. And that's how I found myself lying on the dermatologist's table. And he says he's going to freeze them off, and he takes this apparatus. It's about the size of a Foster's beer can. It has a trigger and a nozzle, and it's full of liquid nitrogen. And before he does it, I say, is this gonna, and he says, hurt? Yes. And I said, no, is this gonna be with me for the rest of my life? And he says, let's not worry about that right now. So I had a date planned with Diana about 4 days later, and I was freaking out because I never thought I'd be in this position ever. Like, I never thought that I have to tell somebody, oh, I have an STD and I may have given it to you. I never thought I could be someone's nightmare date. This isn't the girl that I thought, I wasn't like, oh, she's the one, I'm gonna marry her. But like, I was like, you know what, man? I could like really like watch Netflix in pajama bottoms with this girl. You know what I mean? Like that level, and that's not nothing. You know what I'm saying? I liked her. So we went to this performance. It was at Lincoln Center, and we were getting along great. And I was like, you know what? Maybe this will be okay. Maybe she'll understand. Don't give up the dream of Netflix and pajama bottoms just yet. If I explain it right, this could work out, and maybe we'll still see each other, you know? So we leave. We walk down the street. I say to her, you know, I really like you. And she slid her arm into mine after I said it, and we were walking down the street arm in arm. But I knew I had to tell her. I had to tell her as soon as possible, in person, that night. So I waited until there weren't that many people on the street. I squared us up and I said, I have something to tell you. I went to the doctor the other day and she said, yeah. Because when someone that you've been dating for a couple weeks says, I went to the doctor the other day, there's only one kind of news coming. I said, I went to the doctor, he examined me, and he found some warts. You hear that, right? It's gross. The word warts, it's just gross. And she said, oh, okay. Thank you for telling me. Yeah, okay, sure. I'm gonna go. Okay, yeah, thank you. Okay, bye. And she walked away, went down to the subway, and I was like, oh, she is not cool with this at all. I emailed her a couple of days later just to check in, and I was just like, you know, I'm glad that I told you that I liked you, and I'm glad that you slid your arm into mine when I said it. And this might be a sappy email, but I guess I write sappy emails. And she wrote back the next day saying she was actually quite upset about the whole thing, and she needed some time. I called her twice. She didn't pick up. And then 2 weeks later, I got another email from her saying the doctor checked her out. She's going to be fine probably because we used a condom. But because she's going to be healthy, she would like to keep it that way. She didn't want to see me anymore, and she wasn't on board with such a saccharine tone so early into dating. I understand that I put her in a shitty spot, but saccharine tone stung. That sucked. I wrote back one more email saying I'm so sorry for all of this, and we never spoke again. Now, what followed were a couple of years of what can really only be described as STD OCD. I Googled genital warts incessantly. Like, I learned about HPV and all the hundreds of strains, and cervical cancer, and penile cancer, and throat cancer, and how people rarely only have one outbreak, and how some protrude from the skin, and some are flat, and some are discolored, and some are flesh-colored, and all of this stuff, and some are so small you might not even see them. You might have it right now and not know it. And that's when I was just like, fuck you, WebMD. Like, how are you going to tell a hypochondriac you might have it now and not know it? If my brain were a computer, that's the line of hacker code that would basically be like, Rob's brain has unexpectedly quit. Would you like to send an error report? And I read these forums where people were saying that they were like turning to Christ after getting genital warts. I read one where someone heard of somebody who had killed themselves after getting genital warts. It was the internet and it was bullshit, but it was not helping me at all. And eventually I stopped Googling, not because I learned my lesson, but because I simply, every link was visited when I would Google something. For like 3 pages, purple links. You know what I mean? I reached the end. And I was examining myself constantly. Like, I would be at work, worried about an outbreak, and I would sneak into the bathroom and check myself out. But the light wasn't good enough, so I'd wait until I got home. And I had this standing IKEA lamp with a bendable neck, and I would bend it down, shine the light on myself like a cop interrogating a suspect. My dick became a 3D Magic Eye poster. If I stared at it long enough and relaxed my eyes, eventually I would see something. I went back to the dermatologist so many times. That dude was so sick of me towards the end. I was also mourning the fact that for me, casual sex was done. It was just over. Like pre-HPV, it wasn't exactly happening all the time, but now it was just dead. You know what I mean? Because even if by some miracle I could get a girl interested in me to come home with me, I would have to stop the seduction in the middle and say, listen, by the way, I have a strain of HPV that causes genital warts. While unsightly, they are benign. And even if we used a condom during intercourse, because HPV is spread from skin-to-skin contact and a condom doesn't cover all of my skin, I can't guarantee that I wouldn't unwittingly transmit it to you. But if you're still as turned on as I am, your place or mine. And I was dating throughout this time, like internet and stuff, but I didn't want it to get past coffee or that first drink because I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to have this conversation or be rejected. Eventually I did meet somebody, and she was really great, and I moved real slow. Emails for like 2 weeks before I even asked her out. And we did go on a date, and then we went on another date, and another date. And one of those nights, we actually spent the night together, and we didn't have the conversation, so I made sure it stayed real PG-13. But we woke up the next morning, and I knew that I had to tell her, and I liked her a lot, and I didn't want to fuck this up. So I just looked over at her, and I said, I have something to tell you, and she said, yeah? And I said, I have HPV. And she laughed so hard. It was so wonderful. And she was laughing, and she said, I'm sorry that I'm laughing, but Jesus, you should have seen the look on your face. I thought you were about to tell me you had HIV. Look, so many people have HPV. I said, it's the warts kind. She said, okay, I don't care. It's fine. And that's what finally got me over it. It was all in my head the whole time. And getting it out and having someone say to me, it's okay, I haven't had an outbreak since. And when I look back on this time, this weird period in my life, I think about the very first doctor that I went to, my primary care physician. Like, I was so scared, and he saw how scared I was, and he checked me out, and we talked about it a little bit. But then he said to me, like, listen, Rob, you've got to calm down. this is not a big deal even if you have it, okay? When you get older, you're gonna have to deal with like heart disease and arthritis and maybe even cancer. Right now, you're a healthy young man, and this is not a big deal. And it took me like all those 2 years of freaking out to realize that he was right. Freddie Mercury isn't dead from genital warts. There's no genital warts quilt. And like, I got the chicken pox of STDs and everything is fine now. And I just realized that this is how I respond to things. I freak out, and I wish I could tell you, oh, I'll never freak out like that again. But I probably will about something. I don't know what it'll be. But I'm still here, and it's okay. And just one more thing before I go. The girl who told me that it was okay, she's been my girlfriend for over 2 years now. And when we watch Netflix, we wear matching pajama bottoms. And it is saccharine as hell. Thank you guys very much.